A tempest of disturbance has ejected among Kim and Kanye, catapulting their once confidential fights into the glaring spotlight in the midst of this unfurling scene. Kanye has released a flood of shocking disclosures, pointed straightforwardly at Kris Jenner, giving her a role as a puppeteer and expert controller. This sensation disclosure has simply stirred up the generally fiendish blazes, overwhelming the multifaceted embroidery of Kim and Kanye's relationship. When somebody doesn't have the foggiest idea about how various they are, nevertheless, you continue to search for that individual. I generally will. You'll constantly like expectation that you'll see a brief look at them, since that is who I cherished, and that is who I recall that I'll effectively get that individual back. I have any idea about what I feel is so terrible for him. While Kenny was not entirely settled to rescue their marriage in battle against the separation, Kim clarified that she was not keen on compromise during the initial not many months. Whether Kim plans to remove the children for all time is unsure, and would rely upon the judicial procedures and arrangements arrived at between the two players. By and large, the circumstance among Kim and Kanye has become tumultuous and loaded up with strain. Since the separation, documenting the public disclosure's lawful activities and contrasting cravings for the eventual fate of their relationship have established an exceptionally combative climate. Following their separation, it at first appeared to be that Kim and Kanye had figured out how to keep a cordial relationship, and the division was moderately friendly anyway. The circumstance immediately took a turn when Kim started dating comic Pete Davidson in November 2021. It was right now that Kanye acknowledged he was genuinely losing him, which drove him to set out on a virtual entertainment outburst against her. In his post, Kanye called Kim a terrible mother and guaranteed that she didn't include him in choices concerning their kids' childhood. One specific post featured his anxiety about their girl being dynamic on TikTok, without his accent, referencing that this was his most memorable involvement in separation, and looking for counsel on the best way to deal with such matters. Furthermore, Kanye delivered a melody named Simple where he rapped about the youngsters' rowdiness in light of Kanye's activities. Kim felt a sense of urgency to address what is happening and made an announcement on her Instagram stories. She communicated that Kanye's steady goes after in interviews and via web-based entertainment were more pernicious than any potential moves their girl North could make on TikTok. Kim underscored that she was the essential supplier and guardian for their youngsters. By and large, the fallout of the separation that has shifted the elements among Kim and Kanye. While they at first appeared to keep a sincere relationship, the presentation of new heartfelt interests for Kim set off Kanye's explosion via online entertainment, bringing about allegations and conflicts in regards to their nurturing jobs anyway. Kanye's tirades unexpectedly stopped as fast as they had started, and he and Kim accommodated. They even went to a soccer match together for their child holy person. However, they didn't show unreasonable kind disposition. They appeared to be focused on keeping up with mutual respect for their youngsters. Sadly, this time of politeness seems to have reached a conclusion as Kanye has by taken to Instagram to yell about Kim and her family. This time he disclosed charming and beforehand undisclosed insights regarding the Kardashian family, especially focusing on Kris Jenner, the Kardashian momager. This new arrangement of tirades started when news broke that Kim and Pete had cut off their roughly drawn-out friendship. In his revisitation of online entertainment, Kanye shared an ineffectively photoshopped first-page front of the New York Times, portraying the manufactured title skate Davidson dead at age 28. This activity showed Kanye's recharged commitment in web-based articulation and caused to notice himself by the circumstance keeps on developing, with Kanye's virtual entertainment eruption reemerging and uncovering more undisclosed data about the Kardashian family. This most recent episode started because of the fresh insight about Kim and Pete's separation, making a flood of contention and vulnerability, encompassing the elements between Kim, Kanye, and the remainder of the Kardashian group. as per an unknown source. Kim was enormously upset by the post and figured out how to convince Kanye to erase it anyway. She didn't expect the resulting series of tirades that followed as they appeared to emerge unexpectedly and swelled into a horrendous tone. The hidden subject of Kanye's tirades seems to originate from his apparent absence of impact in his youngster's childhood. Disclosures from Kanye's eruptions offer experiences into the continuous debates among him and the Kardashian family, especially concerning the instructive decisions for their kids. The city circumstance remains exceptionally quarrelsome and unsettled, with the two players maintaining firm viewpoints regarding this situation. Kanye emphatically accepts that his perspectives are being dismissed by the Kardashians, and he will not acknowledge what is going on. He knew that his activities would prompt uncovering things that Kim wished to keep concealed. Trying to end his activities, Kim messaged Kanye, begging him to stop anyway. Kanye in no way wanted to stop and answered by recommending they have an in-person discussion. He addressed why Kim had the power to settle on choices exclusively in light of the fact that she is biracial, expressing, "You realize I have something to do with where the children go to class. For what reason do you get to choose in light of the fact that you're half white?" Kim likewise shared a message from her mother, Kris, in which Kris asked Kanye to quit filling the web-based show. Kris communicated her age and what the pressure from these circumstances extraordinarily meant for her. Sadly, Kris' message appeared to additional incense Kanye, and he answered furiously, stating that they didn't have command over his dark youngster's decisions in tutoring. He resolutely proclaimed that his kids wouldn't take part in Playboy or make grown-ups satisfied. This set off Kanye's close-to-home explosion, driving him to condemn the Kardashians for what he saw as their double dealing of their bodies for benefit. He even posted an image of Khloe's companion and previous right hand, Victoria Villarreal, hinting that Kris compelled her into posturing for Playboy. Like what he accepted Khloe and Kim were meant for. Kanye proceeded to communicate his perspectives on the idea of media outlets portraying it as a monster massage parlor and faulting grown-up Happy for making harm his family. He referenced battling with dependence and scrutinized Instagram for advancing such. Happy underscoring that he wouldn't permit his girls north in Chicago to be exposed to it. This extraordinary trade features the raising strains and well-established issues among Kanye and the Kardashian family. The conflicts rotate around control, dynamic power, and contrasting qualities, with Kanye eagerly testing the family's decisions and practices. Strangely, this isn't the primary example of Kanye communicating his uneasiness with the Kardashians' way of life, especially their way of dress. As far back as 2019, Kanye voiced his disappointment with Kim about her clothing at the Met function, considering it unreasonably uncovering. He communicated what it meant for his spirit and soul as a wedded individual and a caring dad, proposing that he felt clashed because of the public presentation of their bodies. This demonstrates that Kanye's dissatisfaction with regards to the Kardashians has been working over the long haul from his new tirade. It is clear that this objection has now changed into well-established hatred. Besides the way that he accepts he isn't being conceded a voice in his kids' childhood compounds, what is happening as Kanye's web-based presence developed, more individuals began reprimanding him and seeing him as being wild, spiraling into pessimism. Anyway, Kanye discredited such cases and excused the people who marked him as spiraling, declaring that communicating obvious insights doesn't compare to letting completely go. He encouraged others to zero in on their own youngsters, as opposed to condemning him. Kanye stressed that he was managing significant difficulties at an elevated degree of impact and confronting segregation in light of his race position. He even referenced knowing people who take part in the selling of their bodies, yet don't support how his own little girls are introduced. This continuous dramatization kept on unfurling, adding further intricacy to a generally chaotic circumstance. By and large, Kanye's discontent with the Kardashians' way of life and his apparent absence of impact in his youngster's childhood has developed into a significant disdain, his looks of disappointment, and the following kickback have strengthened the disturbance encompassing their relationship, causing what is happening. Kim's previous sweetheart, BMJ, chose to say something regarding what is going on and share his point of view. He upheld Kanye's khloe